Hello, friend, and welcome to Inside the Dark. Thank you for joining me.
Hill got in an argument that day with his girlfriend. The girlfriend was picked up by another friend and they drove off. He was angry that she drove off. He decided to follow her in his SUV. He called on the phone and he threatened her. Then he was driving southbound on 34th Street near 30th Avenue. He thought he saw her vehicle, which was a Honda sedan, and he started chasing it. But it gets worse from there. The car that he was chasing was not his girlfriend's car.
On March 9th of 2025, 33-year-old Kyle Hill got into an argument with his ex-girlfriend in St. Petersburg, Florida. When she jumped into a friend's Honda and left, he wasn't having it. So he jumped into his SUV to chase after her. And when he thought he spotted the Honda she got into, he called her to tell her that he found her, and he was going to unalive her and her friend. So he chased the car. But it was the wrong car. And he was actually chasing a young couple on their way to Walmart. Police said Hill chased the wrong car with 28-year-old Arislani Medina and her boyfriend, Norbelis Campos, inside, harassing them and trying to run them off the road for blocks. Arislani was on the phone with her father and young daughter in Cuba when Hill began chasing her and her boyfriend. And she told her father how panicked she was and that the man chasing them was going to kill them. Then the call disconnected. But not before her poor father and daughter heard the horrific crash. Hill drove Medina and Campos off the road, and they crashed into a cement pole that fell on their car and took Arislani's life, and left her boyfriend, Norbelis, in critical condition. Hill also lost control of his SUV and slammed into a tree, but he escaped with minor injuries. When he was taken into custody, his blood alcohol level was more than twice the legal limit.
6 St. Pete police say that a man's trying to chase down his girlfriend and had the wrong car. Now he's charged with first-degree murder for forcing an innocent couple off the road, causing a fatal car crash. Happened Sunday night near 17th Ave North and 34th Street North. Fox 13's Kaylee Tracy's live in St. Pete with more. Kaylee, this is a crazy story. And as tragic as it is, apparently it gets even worse. What more do you know?
It does. Incredibly tragic. It doesn't even scrape the surface of this story, Mark. The chief also telling us it gets worse. The woman who died in this crash, she was on the phone with her dad and her young daughter who live in Cuba when it all happened, and they heard it all.
She was always happy, always lovable, never ever dull.
St. Pete police say Blanco Medina moved here from Cuba just a few months ago to be with her boyfriend, Norbelis Figueredo Campos, who moved here a year ago.
His dream obviously was to bring his girlfriend, his partner here with him so she can provide a better family for her daughter and her parents in Cuba.
The couple was on their way to Walmart Sunday night when those dreams were cut short. Police say Kyle Hill forced their Honda off the road. They hit a concrete pole that fell and crushed the car near the intersection of 17th Avenue North and 34th Street North. Blanco Medina died, and Figueredo Campos is in critical condition.
They did not know Hill. They were trying to avoid Hill.
Police Chief Anthony Holloway says Hill got into an argument with his ex-girlfriend Sunday night, and she left in a friend's car. Hill followed.
While he was chasing a car, he called her again and said, "I got you. I'm going to kill you, your friend, and myself." But it gets worse from there. The car that he was chasing was not his girlfriend's car.
Figueredo Campos' aunt and Blanco Medina's brother spoke to us through a cousin who translated for them.
She wishes that the person who caused this and that her Norbelis and Arislenis gets justice for what has happened and for cutting their goals and dreams and short. Her and her boyfriend would always have music and always just bring a brighter and more positive vibe to anyone who was dealing with anything around them.
And Chief Holloway says the victim's make and model of the car was the same as Hill's ex-girlfriend, the one that he thought that she was in, but it was a different color. But obviously, as the chief said, Hill chased the victim's car there, and also Hill's blood alcohol was more than twice the legal limit, police say. He lost control of his car and hit a tree in a median, and he was also on probation when this all happened for an incident that happened last year. Police say he beat up a man he thought was talking to his girlfriend.
First at 5, investigators say he ran an innocent couple off the road, thinking they were his ex-girlfriend, killing a woman and severely injuring her boyfriend. And today that suspect faced a Pinellas County judge 24 hours after being hit with upgraded charges. Kyle Hill was arraigned this afternoon on first-degree murder and attempted murder charges. And as Fox 13's Kaylee Tracy reports, he won't be getting out of jail anytime soon.
I don't remember anything, sir.
Kyle Hill appeared to grimace in pain at his first appearance Thursday, sitting in a wheelchair, as he told the judge he didn't know if he could afford to hire an attorney.
How much money you got in the bank?
I don't know, sir.
You have no idea? Apparently your car's not in good shape after the accident situation, huh?
St. Pete police upgraded Hill's charges from DUI manslaughter and vehicular homicide to first-degree murder and attempted first-degree murder. Investigators say Hill got into an argument with his ex-girlfriend Sunday night, and she left in a friend's car. Hill left to find her, saw the same make and model car his girlfriend left in, and assumed it was her, but the Honda was a different color. Inside this car was an innocent couple, Norbelis Figueroa Campos and his girlfriend, Arisleni Blanco Medina, who'd recently moved here from Cuba to start a new life.
You mention their name to anybody and they're like, oh yeah, what a great person. They were loved by all.
Police say Hill forced them off the road. They hit a concrete pole that fell and crushed the car near the intersection of 17th Avenue North and 34th Street North. Blanco Medina died, and Figueroa Campos is in critical condition.
Arisleni's father contacted her family members in St. Petersburg to tell them about the horrific crash he heard while on the phone with his daughter. And they say they went to the scene of the crash to try to help their loved ones. But they weren't able to. Arisleni was gone, and Norbelis is left fighting for his life in the hospital. And Arisleni's young daughter heard it all. Her mother's panic, her mother's last words, her mother's crash. Here's a press conference with the details of that horrific night, along with family members who wanted to share their heartbreaking stories. The family members speak in Spanish, but one of the family members does interpret what they say into English. But whether in Spanish or in English, you don't need to understand what they're saying to feel their absolute heartbreak over what happened to their loved ones. All because an intoxicated man, chasing the wrong car, decided to end their lives that night.
He didn't use a firearm. He didn't use a knife. He used his vehicle. And let me explain that to you. Hill got in an argument that day with his girlfriend. The girlfriend was picked up by another friend and they drove off. He was angry that she drove off. He decided to follow her in his SUV. He called on the phone and he threatened her. Then he was driving southbound on 34th Street near 30th Avenue. He thought he saw her vehicle, which was a Honda sedan, and he started chasing it. While he was chasing the car, he called her again and said, I got you. I'm going to kill you, your friend, and myself. But it gets worse from there. The car that he was chasing was not his girlfriend's car. The car that he was chasing was driven by 35-year-old Campos and his girlfriend, 28 Medina. They were on their way to Walmart. They did not know Hill. They were trying to avoid Hill. They kept trying to get away from him. He chased them for 12 blocks. After 12 blocks, he forced them off the street into the road where they ran into a concrete pole. As you can see to my left, the pole came down on the car and crashed on top of Medina, where she died. The driver, Campos, later suffered from severe injuries. Meanwhile, Hill lost control of his vehicle and hit a tree in a median. He used his car as a weapon. This is a senseless killing of an individual. He is also on probation for what happened back on March the 3rd of last year, where he beat a guy because he thought he was talking to his girlfriend. So with that, I'll open up for any questions.
Chief, was it the exact make and model, was the victim's car the exact make and model of his ex-girlfriend or the friend's car?
It was the exact make and model, but it was a different color.
Any questions on the actual case or what happened? Thank you, Chief. So I wanted to give you a little bit of background. To give you a little bit of background on the family and introduce a couple of family members who are going to talk to you about their loss. Norbelis Figueredo Campos came to the U.S. from Cuba about a year and a half ago. And his girlfriend, Arisleni Blanco Medina, just arrived a few months ago from Cuba to come to this country to start a new life. And she was on the phone to her father in Cuba, talking to her 9-year-old daughter and her father when this crash occurred. During that phone call, she talked about this, she was going to die, and then they heard the crash on the phone call. So the family members in Cuba, her father and daughter, then called her family here in Pinellas County to let them know something terrible had happened. That's how they found out about the crash that they were involved in. So here to share their loss and to talk about all of these hopes and dreams that have been cut short for this family, we have Clara Figueredo, who is the aunt to Norbelis, and Nicole Galvan, who is the cousin to Norbelis. And then we also have Aramis Blanco, who's Arisleni's brother. So if you all could come, si podrían venir al micrófono, por favor. Clara is going to begin talking a little bit about what this has done to her family and a little bit about what their hopes and dreams were before this.
Usted puede comenzar a hablar de Norbeli y lo que quiere hacer aquí, su meta.
Sí, buenas tardes, mi nombre es Clara Figueredo. Soy la tía de Norbeli Figueredo. Él llegó hace 1 año y medio de Cuba con un propósito muy grande. Él tenía muchas metas pensadas para seguir adelante. Él y su novia para seguir en un futuro mejor. Siempre ha sido una persona muy querida y respetada.
She introduced herself, and she's the aunt of Norbelis, and she said that he's a person who always had ambition and goals, and right when he came here, he started them. And his dream, obviously, was to bring his girlfriend, his partner, here with him, so she can provide a better family for her daughter and her parents in Cuba. And they were very ambitious when they got here.
Yo lo que uno quisiera, toda la familia queremos, que caiga el peso completamente encima de esa persona asesina que ha frustrado todas sus aspiraciones que él tenía para hacerse una gran persona y seguir adelante. Y ha sido un freno para él en estos momentos. que se encuentra en estado crítico.
She wishes that the person who caused this and that her Norbelis and Arislenis gets justice for what has happened and for cutting their goals and dreams and short and delaying all of that and delaying the dreams of her daughter and her parents in Cuba and causing all of the pain that they're causing us right now.
At this point, if any of you have anything that you would like to ask any of the family members.
How is Norbelis doing?
¿Cómo está así? He's doing better. He's stable, but he is currently still in ICU. As we speak, he is getting his pelvis worked on because he fractured it. But he's still in critical condition, and every day he feels for what happened to his girlfriend and for her daughter.
Jonathan, por acá de Telemundo. ¿Cómo se encuentra la familia en Cuba tras esta noticia?
Esa familia está devastada, pidiendo que se la devuelvan, aunque sea para verla su última vez. Estamos haciendo gestión a ver cómo la familia puede recibir, aunque sea por última vez verla. Vamos a ver qué hacemos para que puedan recibirla, pero están devastadas, no pueden hacer nada, no pueden venir acá y estamos haciendo toda la gestión a ver cómo puede recibirla para que la vean por última vez.
¿Tiene alguna cuenta para recibir ayudas económicas que la ciudadanía se pueda unir para eso?
We've actually tried to make a GoFundMe. Tratamos de hacer un GoFundMe, pero nos comunican para atrás y dice que no, nuestra cuenta ha sido como quitada, como no podemos hacerlo. Entonces nos estamos comunicando con ellos y tratando todo posible para poder empezar algo.
You want to say?
Si tú quieres hablar por...
This is Arislenis' brother.
Buenas tardes para todos presentes aquí hoy. Yo me llamo Aramil Blanco, hermano de la víctima, Arislenis Blanco, la cual es muy querida, aún no estando en vida, porque para muchos no lo creen y dicen que está viva. El día de la tragedia estaba mi sobrina hablando directamente con ella por WhatsApp cuando comenzó todo y ella, detrás de la persecución del asesino, como se pueda decir, ella pedía auxilio y de repente no hubo más comunicación hasta que entonces es donde yo le comunico a ellos a través de una llamada que fueran a ver si podían comunicarse con ellos porque yo lo intentaba y no podía.
This is the brother of Arislenis Blanco, and who is still very loved even though she's not here with us, and some still don't believe it. But he's saying that
She was on the phone.
yeah, she was on the phone when the whole incident happened, talking with her dad and her daughter in Cuba, and how they saw the whole thing happen and heard her last words, which were screaming that he was gonna kill her, until the call cut off. And of course her dad had no way to communicate with any of us down here, so he calls his son, which he then calls us and tells us that a tragedy has happened and that no one can communicate, which was when we went to the scene and found out that had happened.
Mi hermana, a pesar de nosotros dos venir y tener solamente 7 meses en este país con aspiraciones grandes, las cuales le dijo la tía de Norbeli Figueredo, tenía pensado traer a su niña aquí cuando se pudiera y tuviéramos legalmente en este país como personas queridas y amadas, respetadas en nuestro país. Las personas están tan devastadas, tanto mi familia, es decir, mi papá, mi sobrina, todos, hasta hoy, no hay una persona que no esté en mi casa todavía. Todos los vecinos están ahí, todos están ahí. Y mi teléfono no deja de tener llamadas en el día, porque quieren que la manden en carne propia, no incinerada. Pero es algo que cuesta mucho, lo cual no tenemos el dinero. Y hasta donde tengo entendido, no se puede. Y entonces estamos aún, desde el día de la tragedia, yo mismo no he podido ver a mi hermana todavía. Porque hasta para verla hay que pagar. Hasta para verla hay que pagar. Y entonces, solo les digo que para todos los que están aquí presentes, que eleven esto a lo más alto. No es el dinero lo que me hace falta ni a mí ni a nadie. Solamente que él pague lo que tenga que pagar.
He said that, along with what Norbeli's aunt said about their dreams and inspirations, that they've caused everyone in their family pain, and that their family wants to send her a whole body to Cuba, and not in ashes, but that's too much money, and from what our intel, not possible. But that if they can't do that, to at least get justice and to make sure he pays for what he did and how he left all of her family, which are all together, all in her house, all reunited right now for this tragedy.
This concludes our press conference. If any of you have any additional questions, we'll be here to try to assist you with any questions. Yes? Yes. So we have Arisleni Blanco Medina, who is the deceased victim, and Norbelis Figueredo Campos, who is the gentleman who is in critical condition. Okay? Right. Yeah, they were on the WhatsApp, on the phone. And they heard everything, and she started screaming, and then the call dropped. So they knew that something horrible had happened, and so then they contacted the brother, who then contacted the rest of the family to try to see if they could find him. And they actually went to the scene of the crash on Sunday. Sí, que, ¿cómo no? ¿Quieres decir? And their biggest struggle now is to try to get her body back to Cuba so that her family members there can say goodbye. But they're not sure how to do that. They're not even sure if it's going to be allowed, and of course what the costs are going to be.
Cuando digo de una niña, no estamos hablando de una niña grande, estamos hablando de una niña solamente 7 años, que no había un día que no hablara con su mamá el día entero. Y es algo que va a ser traumático para ella, donde hoy pude hablar con ella con la fuerza que saqué. Y lo que me pidió fue eso, que le llevara a su mamita para atrás, donde no va a poder ser, como bien saben. Y no sé si vendrá el caso, pero yo tengo mis hijos, son pequeños también, y ella era el sostén de su hija y su mamá, porque no soy hermano de madre y padre. Y en este caso me va a tocar a mí como tío y ya como madre, porque tengo que hacer por ella, porque me corresponde. Y ya luego espero hayan medios para que se haga valer la justicia. Es todo.
¿Cómo tú recuerdas a tu hermana? Si la fuera a describir.
Mi hermana es, porque yo digo que no digo fue, una persona muy alegre diariamente. Fundamental es eso. Una persona tratable y querida por todo el mundo. Una niña que si yo le mostrara una foto a ustedes o algo de las cosas que yo no tuvieran valor para mirarlo como ella. Y se lo voy a mostrar desde aquí.
Ella tiene una foto de ella aquí también.
You want to translate what he's saying?
He's saying that she didn't just leave a grown daughter in Cuba, that she's young and still needing her mom. She went from calling her mom and talking to her mom every day to not talking or seeing her at all. And he was finally able to build up the courage to talk to them, and how all her daughter can say is how bad she wants her mom again, and how he's extremely hurt at the fact that he can't bring her back in the way that her daughter would want to see her again. And you asked how she is as a person and how her character is, and she was always happy, always lovable, never ever dull. You would go to her house and you would always hear music, and she would always be dancing. Her and her boyfriend would always have music and always just bring a brighter and more positive vibe to anyone who was dealing with anything around them. They never had problems with anybody, not a single soul. You mention their name to anybody and they're like, oh yeah, what a great person. They were loved by all, and family and friends.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of Inside the Dark. Take care, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel, where I'll be waiting to take you back inside the dark.